It's back and bigger than ever. It's the unofficial 40 from Soonerscoop.com. Presented by the Choctaw Casino and Resort in Durant. Now, here's the entire Sooner Scoop crew. Carey, Josh, Eddie, and Bob.
All right, welcome back. It is the unofficial 40 podcast brought to you by MidFirst Bank. Go check them out, midfirst.com/U40. That's U40. And apply for the OU Rewards credit card. Well, welcome back, everybody. OU Texas is over with. We've had the post game, and now we're back. The whole crew, Josh, Eddie, Bob, and myself, Carey Murdoch, here with you to talk about the upcoming game versus West Virginia, which kind of got a little bit of has a little bit of a dud feeling to it now that Austin Kendall appears to be out for this one. Have we heard official word yet?
Not yet.
From West Virginia?
Not yet. I think Neil Brown said yesterday something to the effect of that he's not going to play him if he's not 100%, which if that's truly the case,
then he's not playing.
He's not going to play. I don't think that you leave a game and then 5 days later you
don't play in the second half.
Yeah, but I if I had to guess, I'd say that he probably doesn't play. And Jack Allison, is that the guy's name?
Right. Yeah.
The backup quarterback for West Virginia. Ugh. Ugh.
As long as OU makes him look like it, and now no Kyle Kempt again.
That is true. I think this defense might be a little bit better than the one Kyle Kempt saw. What do you say, Josh?
Yeah, I didn't get to weigh in on this. I'm sorry to all the dedicated listeners out there. Was enjoying Tiffany's birthday on Saturday, so trying to make up for the fact I ignored her all Saturday morning. But no, the defense looked. I mean, that was the test we were all looking to see them pass, and I thought 27 was fairly flattering to Texas. I thought Oklahoma did a better job than that.
Yeah, that's one of those where Texas scored the late touchdown against LSU. Now they did against OU, and just changes the narrative of what people actually watched.
Well, we talked about it on the postgame podcast, but an investigation, if it hasn't already been opened, it needs to be opened into that douchebag Mike Defee. He screwed the over or not the over, but the cover for OU.
Eddie, I mean,
well, the over was like
worried that you had money riding.
No, thankfully I didn't, but I would have been pissed if I did.
I think the over was like 74 in that game.
Yeah, I never had a chance to get to the over.
Yeah.
When it's 10-3 at halftime, it's like, I don't think this thing's going to get there. But it actually almost did. 34-27, I mean, that's 61, right?
Needed a couple more touchdowns.
Most people tore up those tickets at halftime, though.
Oh, I would imagine so. When it's 13 total, you're like, oh, God.
So, yeah, I mean, I thought Mike Defee kind of got... I would say he got a heavy burn by Jalen Hurts this week.
And Creed Humphrey.
And Creed Humphrey as well.
Yep.
Here is Jalen Hurts. I thought this was pretty funny. From Monday in the post-game press conference, he was asked about Barry Tram. I'll play the question for you, but this was a funny exchange.
Surprised were you out there at midfield for the coin toss to hear Mike Defee, the referee, be so stern and strict and talk about the history of the game and also tell everybody to knock off all the extracurriculars?
You telling me stuff I didn't know. What you talking about?
At midfield at the coin flip when he's...
I don't think I was listening to the coin.
You were right there by you, right?
I wasn't.
I think they're head and tails, huh?
He's going to be disappointed. The whole stadium heard it.
I didn't.
Did you usually not listen to the referee?
Had my mind on other things. I was in my element.
Here's what Creed said. I didn't really hear it. I was standing right by him, and I couldn't really hear him either. It was pretty loud in there. I was just focusing on picking the right thing, whether it was heads or tails.
Maybe if Mike Defee had been less concerned about turning his mic on and actually leaning in to talk to the players he was actually supposed to be talking to, they would have heard him.
Pretty on brand for Tram to write in the Oklahoman that Mike Defee was exactly what the OU Texas game needed.
Did he? I didn't see it.
Oh, extremely on brand. They needed a voice of reason. It's like, I think both teams should have fought the guy.
Yeah,
it's interesting when both teams get a penalty, and that's reason.
Let's face it, everybody talks about Mike Defee's arms. That's all he does. He goes in and benches.
Yeah, what's bigger?
He has no stamina whatsoever. He would not last 5 minutes.
Well, that's mostly because he's an old, but what's bigger, his arms or his ego?
His ego, strangely enough.
What a loser.
It was bizarre. It's still bizarre. It will always be bizarre. It has stained Mike Defee as a megalomaniac from here to eternity.
Yes. Yeah, he acted like a douchebag in front of 100,000 people on Saturday.
And Lincoln took the high road.
Or I guess 99,999 because Barry Tram was the only one that appreciated it.
Lincoln took the high road, which I really wish he wouldn't have done.
No, at least the Big 12 sent out a reprimand today to Kirby Hocutt.
Kirby got 25,000.
What did he do?
About the
snap, the Baylor snap.
Yeah.
That was a bullshit call.
Well, yeah, it was awful.
I mean, the guy snapped it into his leg.
It was terrible.
There was no illegal snap.
The Big 12 is like the kid that never gets held responsible for anything, but then his parents are rich enough to get everybody else in trouble.
I don't even know if that makes sense.
Everybody knew that kid.
I guess so.
Maybe not in Duncan, but...
No, we had him in Duncan. Trust me.
Let's see. everybody has him then.
I think I ran with
Guys,
one
the
most
thing
of the
that-
time.
No, he needs to be in your group for sure.
The thing that stood out to me about
Somebody
this
has to
whole
buy the
deal
beer.
was it
his
me
parents.
or was it Jalen Hurts? Was it God dog you two? Shut up. God.
Well, sometimes we have conversations that are just you just go. I mean, you just ignore us.
Power
I know.
through, Josh. Come on.
Bob, I'm living your life. I'm sorry.
I think what happened there was
no.
Josh got enraged because Eddie and I both admitted that we had friends' parents who bought us beer, and he didn't.
I don't think I
Growing
had
up in high
any
school?
friends'
That
parents
is-
that bought us
You
beer.
didn't?
I don't think so.
Oh, you didn't live in Edmond. That's right.
No, I didn't grow up in 1980.
My best buddy, my best buddy had a really bad fake ID that consistently worked. He, at one point, he bought beer in front of our high school principal, and it was a really, he was trying not to make eye contact. It was a bad deal.
It was a reverse
So,
McLovin situation. His ID was very good.
It really, yes. It was weird. But anyway, what I was going to say is what I thought was weird and what I thought was telling is Jalen Hurts. I mean, I won't say Jalen Hurts was talkative, but in the post game and even with Barry's comments, I would have thought when Barry asked that question, Jalen would have said, and then immediately went into, I was focused on other things. He wouldn't have gone what are you talking about? I didn't know anything about that.
Yeah, that's true.
For him, that was almost bubbly. So was Texas the hurdle he was waiting to climb? He's just felt different ever since that game.
No, it did feel like it
4
was
days since,
probably
I guess.
the best Jalen Hurts interview session that we've had on Monday. I mean, he did seem a little bit more spirited. And, Carey and I were talking before we started, but it's kind of gone largely untalked about and unnoticed that the guy had a bandage wrapped around his hand on Monday.
Well, I'll play it for you. Here was kind of my question to him about the wraparound play, and he seemed to be he actually commented on that on social media, which it was ESPN's tweet, and you never see stuff like that out of him. But here was Jalen kind of admitted that he got hurt during that game.
Jalen, I saw that you'd responded to ESPN's tweet about your behind the back play. Is that when that happens? Is that like an out of body experience, or is that born from something that you just kind of mess around with all the time?
I was definitely in my body. It just kind of happened, and early in the game I kind of jammed up, and my whole hands kind of swelled up, so I wasn't really able to grip the ball like I wanted to. Wasn't able to control the ball like I wanted to. But I think honestly I was just trying to reach away from him, and it's bad, horrible ball security. Ticked off, I fumbled, but kind of just switched it to my left hand and made a play. CD made a play.
And it's funny, I've been kind of cutting up photos, and
I think it was the fumble.
That's what I was telling Eddie.
Yeah.
I thought it was like he said, jammed up, like his hand went into the ground or something. But I was looking at these photos, and you could see his right hand. I was telling Eddie this. It had like a bubble on the palm, like something happened, and like some kind of fluid built up in the palm of his hand, I think. But it was weird, like strange,
very odd.
And he played the whole game. That fumble happened early.
Yeah, it was first quarter, early first quarter, second possession, right?
Yeah,
yes, sir.
Yeah, that's strange.
And then he had it heavily bandaged when he came to the podium on Monday.
I didn't even notice it. After the game. I didn't notice it on Monday. Like, until you put the tweet out, it completely didn't even. I don't think anybody did.
I wasn't trying to make him look like Bigfoot in that tweet. It just happened to be like he was walking that way. Like here's the ever elusive Jalen Hurts.
What if he just would have looked at you and just gave you the finger? No picks.
I still would have taken the pick. And then I really would have had something to tweet out.
Jalen Hurts just told me to go to hell.
So, look, I think this is what West Virginia is for me. And you guys tell me if it's the same for you. This is their chance to prove that they can have a dominant defense this year.
Yeah, I would say that's probably accurate. I think that everything that Lincoln Riley said on Monday, I think that Alex Grinch backed it up in a way Monday night, was just the fact that it's really easy to get up and play very well for your rival and, go down to Dallas and everything that comes with the Cotton Bowl. But it's another thing to come back and do it against what is likely going to be a backup quarterback against a team that's not very good. Like a national championship contender, in my eyes, would come in and win, I name the score, like 56-9 on Saturday, maybe 56-3.
You're saying if OU is a national championship
yeah,
contender,
they come
that's
in
how
and,
they'll win.
But I also think that even though, it's interesting, the next, I guess they're halfway through the schedule. The next 6 games, it's really crazy. I was looking at the parking tickets for home games yesterday. Mm-hmm. Just had them out on a counter for some reason, and they only have 3 home games left.
I know.
Is that not insane?
This is week 7.
They have 6 games left. I think it's very important over the next 3, even though they're going to be favored by, 3 touchdowns in probably every game, that it's very important that they go take care of business and do it in a, what I would call an impressive manner. I know that style points don't mean shit these days, but I think it's very important that the offensive line grows over the next 3 weeks, getting to play together for what will be only the 3rd time on Saturday, this coming Saturday.
Well, and Bob, you guys talked to Ealy and Swenson yesterday. Did you get the feeling that they're good to go from here on out?
Yes. Obviously things can change when you start playing.
Yeah.
But they meant like they had no issues on Monday and Tuesday. They feel exactly where they need to be. Bill Beatenbow alluded to the fact that he feels for the first time in a while his entire unit is healthy. So, yeah. They will be ready.
Even Beatenbow said something to the effect of, we're all healthy now, making it almost seem like kind of put to rest all the question marks around the tackle position. But, we can go back to Saturday that I was shocked when both of those guys came out. I thought we basically could write Swenson off for at least another 2 weeks.
Well, in Lincoln, we were both, I'm sure, kind of like, let's see if he's screwing with us. Let's see if they really come out fully dressed. And then when they came out fully
might
dressed,
give it a go, but then when he didn't practice on Monday and Tuesday, it's like, well, maybe not.
It's clear Fox didn't know because their graphics for the starting lineup had Proctor at left tackle, Robinson at right tackle.
Well, at least they didn't announce it in the stadium.
Even Swenson said when you talked to him yesterday, Bob, you never know if you're going to start. He's like, the only way you know if you're going to start is if you're running with the ones, and he wasn't practicing enough during the week to know if he was going to be running with the ones.
Yeah, and, for something like Swenson, that was his actual first OU Texas game. The 4 years he's been here, finally got a taste of it, and he played pretty well. He had that false start to start the game, and it almost like that relaxed him a bit, and he had one of his better games.
And Josh, I don't know what you consider OU's worst game of the season so far. I think maybe Kansas, but UCLA wasn't. UCLA was just kind of a blah game, but probably Kansas. But still, OU hasn't had that. They got up 42-7 on Kansas. Other than them scoring first, you can't really call that a letdown game. Like, Josh, you usually see a team like an Ohio State that's running as hot as they are, a Wisconsin that's running as hot as they are, and Oklahoma as hot as they are. Like, there comes that game, just like Clemson and North Carolina, where they are not the team that you thought they were.
Georgia.
I just wonder, Georgia. I'm wondering who that's coming for next, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right, because that's the thing I think that's been maybe most impressive, because, I mean, we can talk about before Texas, Oklahoma hadn't played anybody, and that's fair, but they were dominating accordingly. I mean, they were running through opponents. I mean, Houston got some late points that made that game look better than it was. Same with Kansas. You know, there were – but, I mean, Texas Tech, UCLA, South Dakota, those games were never competitive. I mean, they were over after the first quarter, really. So I think – when you look at, I mean, that's what I've always said about that Baylor game. I think that Baylor game comes at a funny spot in the schedule, and it's just an easy chance for Oklahoma to let down a little bit. But the way Baylor's going, they're not going to sneak up on Oklahoma. This isn't the game where I thought Baylor might come in at like 4-3 or 5-2 and be a good team, but nothing special.
Oklahoma State has to beat them. Oklahoma State has to beat them this weekend for Baylor to become a potential look-pass game.
I locked Oklahoma State on Monday.
Did you really?
Yeah, I think it's going to be
Was it 3.5?
Yeah, I think I was surprised that it wasn't like 6 or 7. I think it's going to be a
beatdown,
ass beating. Oklahoma State is 12-1 against Baylor and Stillwater.
They killed them in Stillwater.
They played really, really well on homecoming weekend for some strange reason. It just seems like they always play well on homecoming weekend up there. But I think it's going to be an ass throttling.
Was that the Oklahoma State homecoming supportive tweet that you put out there?
Or it's anti-OU homecoming.
No, it's just a fact. I mean,
what it is. But you were just stating. But it was just funny how people reacted. It was art. I mean, it really was.
No, I'm bringing fan bases together.
You basically
love wins.
The truth of the matter is, Oklahoma State's homecoming is fantastic.
No, it's fun.
It's really
if you haven't been up there on Friday night, it's a lot of fun.
People that shit on Stillwater, you've never been to Stillwater, or you weren't in college.
Oh boy, I can't wait to read the threads on this one.
Stillwater's a fun town, man. It's a fun town.
It's a fun town. I just don't like waking up.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to live there. It's granted. Well, they have more stuff now. Anyway, but like OU's homecoming has never been a big deal.
I just don't think people care. I mean,
but people that
they make it a big deal in Stillwater.
It's one of those things where you get football guy is like his brain explodes because he doesn't understand like the campus culture between the two and the homecoming and stuff like that. And they're just like, we don't care about football or homecoming. We just care about we win games here.
Yeah.
Leave it to decorate. Leave the decorating up to them. We'll worry about the football games. All right.
Well, do you think it's
all right, Rich?
I think it's a chicken or the egg. Like, you have to promote something when you don't have that. Like, Oklahoma doesn't.
They're
need
good
to
at
do
homecoming.
To draw 9.
Yeah. But I mean, it's not like about draw. It's a student deal. It's a campus deal. It has nothing to
buy into it.
Like students don't care about drawing 90,000 people. They're not. So OSU fans or OSU students were never doing it to get people to Lewis Field, what it used to be called. I mean, they sucked, and that might be a bigger reason why it became such a big deal.
I think that's probably something to the argument. People just don't care in Norman, and I'm fine with that. It's not like I go down and hang out and watch the homecoming parade. I don't care about that.
It's weird though. Like homecoming,
I did steal money from the
Kappas.
We did steal some money. No, I don't think so. We did steal money from the Kappas because I was the Fiji homecoming chair one year, and instead of using the money to buy T-shirts, we went and just bought a bunch of beer.
Not shocking.
That's going to blow everybody away.
I think that ruined some relations with Kappa Kappa Gamma for maybe a semester or so.
But that's the thing. Like when you're young, you think homecoming's like a something that's I
think it's bigger in high school.
Yeah, like it's a big deal when you're younger. But then when you get older, you're just like, yeah, that was a thing.
I mean, it's homecoming in Norman this week. Anybody care?
No.
Because Jalen Hurts isn't up for homecoming king.
That is true. I think it's a.
Did you ever get a response?
Honestly, I think it's a goddamn disgrace. The quarterback should be up for homecoming.
How's the campaign
going? It's going. It's going right now.
Okay. As much as Jalen, suggested that you could start his campaign, I don't really think that Jalen's going to be all too helpful. Like, he's not going to be standing out anywhere asking people to vote for him.
Well, you got to wonder if he's all in with OU.
If he's
Is
not
he wearing
willing
a
to
homecoming
campaign.
kingpin?
Yeah. A mum. I guess that's for
That's
the
what I
women.
should do. I should just bring a big-ass mum to him. I made it for you, man. Me and James been working on it.
You going to do, like, promotional pictures down in the South Oval?
Should. That'd be pretty hilarious.
I will pay for the mums if you'll go down there and take some
I don't know
pictures.
if you want to say that. Like, some of those Texas ones that I've seen, I bet those
Ridiculous.
have to cost. Oh, Josh is going to have to already start saving up for Lainey and Layla. I mean, they're going to be getting.
No.
Do they not do that anymore?
Oh, no, they do. It's unbelievable. Like, you walk into the stores, and they're the... And I
The
mean,
mum
when we
store?
first lived down
Yeah,
here...
where do you buy them?
Yeah, I was
Just
like...
a flower. I mean, like,
what
we
the
in Duncan,
hell?
we just went to the flower shops, and they would order mums
you guys do
that
those?
time. Oh, yeah.
Really?
They would order mums for that time
I
of
guess
the year.
we just
They were
didn't do
massive.
those.
But, Carey, they're like drapes. Like, it's unbelievable
I can't imagine.
how big... And I
the
mean,
mum, big
it's-
mum, and how far it's come.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and especially... It's Texas high school, so, like, everything's just wildly out of whack. So they are, like I said, the first time I saw them, and I mean, they sell them at flower shops, they sell them in the grocery stores, they sell them everywhere, and they are like always kind of almost like you can't just buy the normal one. You have to have it personalized for little Layla or little Lainey. Like, it's got to be a whole thing, and it's going to cost me probably almost what I pay for Layla in like childcare for a week. Like, it's unbelievable.
So wait, I thought the boyfriends buy the mums. The parents buy the mums?
No, this is not like... I know what you're talking about. You're talking about Oklahoma, where it sort of makes sense, and it's not crazy. It's just kind of funny. Here, it's like a damn business. Like, it's... I mean, homecoming is stupidly crazy here. It's unbelievable. I can't... That's why every time I'm in a game thread, like at a game, I'm like, oh, shit, it's homecoming. Like, and everybody that's from Texas laughs because they know it's like a 45-minute halftime.
Yeah.
Mom and dad have their own mums. Like, it's just nuts. The whole thing's crazy.
You already have to battle the bands at both schools when you go to a Texas high school game. I mean, aren't halftimes already like 45 minutes?
And they make them longer.
30.
Yeah.
30,
Well,
30 minutes.
That's
30
the other thing.
minutes.
Like, if you have a kid in band, you might as well be just paying for private school, because that shit's expensive too.
Well, you don't probably have to pay for. Probably don't have to pay for hanging out with any friends or anything. So.
My nephew is in a band, and he's got plenty of friends.
Okay, well, there's
Hi, Carey's nephew.
every squirrel finds a nut.
He's got a girlfriend too.
All right, well, then good.
Is she also in the
good.
band?
I don't think she's in the band.
Okay, that's...
Flag-
I mean, that,
flag
don't get me-
girl.
no, there's a possibility.
Flag girls are in the band.
They intermingle. Yeah,
There
they
is-
intermingle. Like, it's okay.
There is not one group of people that is less needed at a football game than the flag girls.
Oh my god.
Carey's thinking, do I want to keep going?
Yeah,
do I want to?
I don't. No, we've already done enough damage. I know this. You do not go after band, or ask Jason Kersey.
That's where I get all my
Don't
knowledge
go after
from.
the band people.
That's where I get all my knowledge from. I didn't say the bands were meaningless. I said the bands need to be there.
I will remain
I'm talking
a
about the flag
band
girls.
hero forever, because I championed and found out about them changing the thing at the beginning of the game to all show tunesy, and we started playing it on the radio, and everybody lost their minds, and it forced them to change it back.
What were they doing?
Remember the Max Weitzenhofer guy or whatever that
Oh, God.
he wanted he like single-handedly hired this band director, I guess, with all of his donations or whatever.
Oh, I remember that.
And he wanted him to jazz up the
I do remember that now. Yeah, I remember that.
And it turned into like
Yeah.
really like show
Yeah.
tunesy and Broadway, and people lost their minds.
When I go to a game, I want to close my eyes. I want to drink my wine, and I want to imagine that I'm on Broadway.
I'm in Hamilton.
Hey, Max, guess what? Nobody wants you here. You're the worst regent in the history of Oklahoma.
I
think
went
he
to a
knows
football game and cats broke out.
No wonder the defense was so bad. They were pussies.
Okay. Now that's fine. I think all the people in the band hated it, and they hated that guy, and it all got resolved. Now it's all back to normal.
Man, talk about the worst. If you have, if you're the worst, if you have recommendations for what the band should be playing, Is that fair? Like, just let them play what they want to play.
Yeah.
Well, now, don't you have a take on what plays over the speakers?
No.
I thought you were pretty strong about this. Okay, then I'm
well,
wrong.
I mean,
thought you
there's
had a
some
take on
country
that.
music that has no place at a college football
No,
game.
the only thing I dislike about the in-game music experience is when they always do what song. You know, they let the crowd pick the song, and it's always a damn Toby Keith song.
I think they're like contractually obligated to play at least one Toby Keith song a game.
Yeah, but I mean, do that. You can do that on. You don't have to put his record up there with the other two.
It's like, whose song of the game? Toby Keith.
Is it?
Is it Blake Shelton? Or is it going to be All-American Rejects? It's like, let's go with D, none of the above.
Yeah, it's always
Just let the band play.
Yeah. It's never like Little Nas X or something current.
Yeah, I think we're even out of that stage. Like, let's find something
He's got
new.
another song out now. It's not bad. I don't know what it is.
Anything's better than the other song.
So back on track. Defense, that's going to be the focus. Can they and we were talking about, other teams slipping up, and then we got into Baylor. But let's hear from.
Let me ask Josh real quick. Just real quick. What was maybe the most surprising thing to you about the Texas game defensively?
It's a good question. I would say just how complete the defensive line dominated. With the only guy, what's funny is the only guy on that Texas offensive line that did his job, Samuel Cosme. He's really, really good.
He walked the walk after running his mouth
he did what
away.
he needed to do. I mean, yeah, you can go back and look. I mean, there was very, very little pressure from Sam Ehlinger's backside. Now, I mean, if you want to talk about the guards or whatever, that's fine. But, like, from that around the corner, there was nobody getting that corner. He's probably going to be Texas's first, major offensive line draft pick in over a decade.
What about Connor Williams?
He's got a chance to be a really good player. Let's see. What did he go? Second round? That's fair. That's fair.
You're talking like first round?
Was he? Yeah. I just mean like an elite guy, like going back to like. I'm trying to remember who the last one was. Was it the huge guy that went to Arizona? Was Leonard Davis? Is that right? Yeah, something like that. He's from small town Texas. Anyway, doesn't matter. The rest, though, they had no business. Zach Shackelford is a good player. He's probably going to at least get a cup of coffee in the NFL, and he had no business on the field with Neville Gallimore. I mean, I know you guys talked about it. It's not like I'm breaking news here, but that was not just, Neville Gallimore beating up on another nobody. That's an NFL-type player, and Neville Gallimore, I mean, he literally made himself millions of dollars on Saturday.
Yeah, and that was one thing, just looking at the Pro Football Focus grades over the weekend. I thought this was kind of interesting. The entire offensive line played the entire way. Like, nobody took a play off. They all played every snap of the game, which bodes well, I would say, for next week.
I think that they're really trying to not like capitalize on anything by any means, but it just like they've just been out together for so little time that it's like they are still in somewhat of a preseason mode as an offensive line. And
well, Bob, that was the first time they've played started a game since the opener, right?
Correct. I mean, and it wasn't a blowout, so there's no point in bringing in the young freshmen just to get time in. And if you don't feel that what they're doing is leading to the offense not producing, there's no point in putting R.J. Proctor or Bray Walker. I mean, you're talking about 2 red zone turnovers. That's not off the offensive line play. That's not the reason why it wasn't producing a lot of points. So that quintet did its job.
Yeah, and it's not like Jalen Hurts was running for his life on that interception. He had ample amount of time. I just thought he was throwing it out of the back of the end zone. But statistically, it's funny to like talk about how developing this offensive line is. They've given up less sacks than they did in 2018 at this point. They're averaging almost 80 yards more per game on the ground, which goes hand in hand with Jalen Hurts. Absolutely. Yards per carry's up from 6.3 to 7.7 this year, which, again, anything on the ground is going to be aided by Jalen Hurts. But statistically, they're better than they were last year. But the eye test would tell you much differently as far as the way that they played and just how, I think young they are. But Go ahead. I'll shut up now.
All right, just want to remind you guys that the Unofficial 40 podcast is brought to you by MidFirst Bank. They do a lot of good things to support the university and sponsorships and things. And they contacted us and said, hey, we want to support your podcast as well. So I want to let you guys know they've set up a special URL for you to go visit, midfirst.com/U40. That's midfirst.com/U40. Where will that take you? That takes you to the OU Rewards credit card. They are the exclusive provider of the OU credit card. So every time you take it out of your wallet, you get to show somebody, hey, I'm a huge OU fan. You can earn $150 in bonuses right now. You can redeem your points for cashback, gift cards, merchandise, travel. And also, you can register for a chance to win the ultimate game day experience. And every qualifying purchase made with your OU Rewards credit card earns you a chance to win the ultimate game day experience with VIP tickets to a football or basketball game plus $500. Also, they're offering 0% for the first year on your APR. So go sign up, support the podcast by helping to support MidFirst Bank. And I know you guys want that credit card with a giant OU on it. So go sign up, and we appreciate the sponsorship of MidFirst Bank and being a big part of what we do here with the Unofficial 40 podcast on Soonerscoop.com. Interestingly, with the Pro Football Focus grades, of course, CeeDee Lamb was off the charts in his grade, 4.8. That was the highest grade on offense or defense. And Kennedy Brooks was the only other guy that had a really, considered an excellent score at 1.7. Jalen Hurts was bad. I mean, in PFF grading, he had the second lowest next to Lee Morris. Poor Lee. I don't know why they're picking on Lee Morris. But Lee Morris actually had 44 snaps in that game.
Had to.
Which was bizarre.
You only targeted maybe once or twice.
Braden Willis had 26 snaps in the game.
Even had a reception.
You know what is so bizarre? Is we have never once, after a game, said, let's look at the missed tackle stats.
How bizarre. How bizarre.
I don't even know. I mean, not that anybody would even care. Why would you care?
There just hasn't been any. I mean, they've had a couple here and there, but Josh, I was asking what the most surprising thing for you defensively was, and the Delon Turner-Yell filling holes coming downhill, Brian Asamoah making open field tackles. It's almost an entire new world. They'd have 10 missed tackles on one drive last year.
For me, it was Buki setting the edge correctly. Taking the right angle time and time again, where even earlier this season, that big run against Texas Tech is because Buki didn't know exactly how to not let that happen. He did a tremendous job.
You talked with him on Monday night, and I mean, if you haven't gone back and looked at it, I'd look at it
best interview of the season.
It's on the board on the Crimson Corner, but that is a guy that you just can't walk away and think I want this guy to succeed. He has something that obviously everybody kind of gravitates towards.
What surprised me also is that I thought maybe they would use David Agwebu in that game a little bit, and they didn't use it. And I don't know how you guys feel about that. Lincoln gets really tight with his roster for OU Texas every year. Didn't play Jaden Hazelwood. Didn't play Agwebu. A lot of guys just didn't see the field. There's a part of me that's like, okay, I get it, but also, isn't that always kind of a chance for young guys to get experience in a big game so the next time, they're out there, it's not a big deal to them?
Maybe he's waiting for separation. They never get a 14, 17-point lead to where it's okay, with this drive, let's put the young dudes in and see how they respond. When it's tight like that the entire way, it's I'm going to roll with Rambo and Lamb because I know what they're going to give me every single play.
Here is one thing that stands out to me looking at Pro Football Focus, and that is the number of snaps for Kenneth Mann in that game, 45. That's a lot of snaps for him. I have to go back and look, but that's got to be about double what he's had up to this point. So something about him in practice, experience, whatever, that I think we might be getting ready to see, vintage Kenneth Mann again.
I'd say all the above as far as veteran player on that defense, still kind of finding his way, working his way back, getting his feet underneath him type thing.
Jalen Redmond had 26 for comparison's sake.
Yeah, you would think as far as conditioning, man is just about now to where everybody else was at the start of the season. You know, he's had a couple of months or a couple of weeks to get himself back into playing shape. I mean, because you can work out and do all that stuff. It's just different when you're out there on the field. So I think that's something you have to think about is him just finding a way to be able to take those snaps without just being gassed almost immediately. The thing that sticks out to me on snap count is we've talked about all the substituting and all they've done. Well, Turner Yell and Bradley Hiles, they played a ton. So did Pat Fields. The guy we didn't see at all on Saturday, like didn't play a single snap, Brian Meade.
Yeah.
All the talk about Brian Meade and all the talk about, well, we're not going to leave Kenneth Murray out there for 90 plays. He played 79 plays.
When he's
played
playing
every
like
single defensive snap.
Brian Meade had a rough series against Kansas when Murray went out,
Oh, he
and
did.
I think that almost took away the trust factor that they've had in
They're
him.
shook on Brian
So
Meade.
as long as Murray is full go, and you could tell how crazy he was ready for anything against Texas, they'll let him stay out there. Now that is concerning, though. Obviously, they don't have a backup Mike. They just don't.
Josh, we're 6 games in. Oh, go ahead.
No, I would just, Bob was kind of on the same page. What do you do there? Do you do something to where, okay, Deshaun White's going to move over for a few snaps. We'll let him play there because he's probably going to have to be your Mike next year. And, then we let Asamoah come in, and then we keep rotating 3 guys for 2 spots and kind of make that work. I mean, how do you do that? Because you just can't leave. I think we're all buying into the idea of this substituting is a good thing. You can't leave Kenneth Murray on the field that long and not expect some problems to arise.
I think the only thing you can count on is just based on the spread of the next few weeks, you don't plan on him ever playing the fourth quarter. I think that's really what they're going to be banking on.
Sure.
Legitimate Butkus Award winner. Can that conversation be had with Kenneth Murray right now? Is he a legitimate candidate? I honestly can't say
I don't
that.
pay attention to the rest of the nation enough.
That's
Yeah, I
kind
don't
of
know
why
what
I'm
his.
directing
I don't even know what
towards
his
Josh.
tackle numbers are right now.
Let me look it up. I'm trying to direct that towards Josh just as far as is he a legitimate?
That dude from California gets talked about a lot. I know.
Evan Weaver.
Yep,
he's a really, really good player. And there's some other guys like that I think are maybe a little more known. But the thing that Kenneth has going for him, he's playing on a great defense that suddenly people are talking about for the right reasons. And so as much as the last few years you had Oklahoma being, that defense being discussed as, well, this offense is historic, that defense is so bad, and people would focus on the defense because it was almost inconceivable that a team that good could have a unit that bad. And now it's going to be a fun story that people are going to beat into the ground about, well, now this defense is for real. Look at Kenneth Murray and Neville Gallimore and all these players. They're really good. And I think it's going to be one of those stories that kind of gets beaten into the ground, and it's going to give Kenneth Murray a lot of run. And it's only helped by the fact that the Big 12 offenses are not what we've seen. I mean, Oklahoma's only got 3 top 35 offenses left on its schedule, and one of them's TCU, who's slowly but surely looking like a dumpster fire. And OSU is obviously great. And Baylor, I don't know what to make of Baylor's offense right now. I mean, they put up some points. They look okay, but it really feels like a team that's more driven by its defense than anything. So, we'll kind of have to see what that looks like. But this is a defense that should continue to go up in the rankings, I think. I think could end the year as a top 25 defense, and I can't even believe I'm saying that sentence. But, yeah, I think Murray will be helped by having all that backing. But, yeah, a guy like Evan Weaver's having a huge year. There's a couple of others whose their name is going to escape me. The guy at it's not Boston College. There's another guy kind of like the Cal situation where he's kind of at an obscure school, but he's having a great year.
Utah State.
I want to say it's in the Big Ten. No.
David Woodard?
It doesn't.
Nate
I know
Landman?
that kid too, but I mean.
Here's what helps. Here's what
a guy from Utah
Max
State could run
Richardson,
like
Boston
this.
College.
Here's what helps Kenneth
that's what I'm
Murray
talking about.
is LSU's defense isn't that good this year. So even though that we know they have great linebackers, nobody's going to really get a lot of credit. Alabama had that injury to what was it? CJ or
Moses?
Moses, yeah,
Dylan Moses.
Dylan Moses. And so they've been really young at linebacker, and their defense has not been to Alabama standard. Georgia's lost. I mean, the thing is, you might be I don't know what Ohio State has or what Wisconsin
Isaiah
has.
Simmons at Clemson.
Isaiah Simmons at Clemson.
Yeah, that's the other. That's,
Yeah.
That was absolutely.
I mean, if you're talking best player on best team and a defense that's getting some credit for being good, absolutely Kenneth Murray's going to be in the running.
And he's making highlight real plays instead of like being dragged 2-3 yards. He's hitting people and they're stopping right there in their tracks.
Would you like to take a guess on
Which
what
is-
Kenneth Murray ranks nationally in tackles per game?
Not high at all compared to like last. Like
I'd guess in the 60s.
Yeah, because he's not the leader in tackles.
Last
every
year he would have
game.
been like top 10 because he just kept.
I'm going to
racking
say
them up.
in the 50 to 75 range. Or is it worse than that?
Kenneth Murray is ranked 142nd in the country in tackles per game, seven a game. Evan Weaver, who we talked about just a minute ago from Cal, he is second in the country, 14 tackles per game.
He's getting more snaps.
Jordan Brooks, Texas Tech, 11.3 per game.
Jordan Brooks is good, yeah.
Nate Landman,
really
Colorado, 11.2 per game. Garrett Wallow from TCU is sixth in the country with 11 per game. I mean, you got to put up some big ass numbers.
He's got to make a couple takeaways because he's the tackles for loss are looking pretty good. He's getting some sacks. If he can get a couple takeaways, that'll start gearing things more toward his favorite team.
And I think part of it is, I don't know, Josh, it seems like them kind of using Kenneth Murray on the edge now instead of just having him be a middle linebacker all the time. It's allowed him to make more plays behind the line of scrimmage, but it's also taken him out of opportunities too.
Well, I think so too. And then you look at that play that he made against Ellinger where he came across the field from being that backside linebacker like you're talking about.
That was a hell of a play.
He came up the middle.
I fixate. There's no.
Are you talking about
Ellinger? He scrambled out right and he caught him on the sideline on that third down.
That's the clip that he waves at the Texas crowd afterwards.
Yeah. He does the bye-bye.
Yeah. I mean, what are there? Maybe 5 or 6 linebackers in the country are athletic enough to make that play and arrive at Ellinger and be like, okay, he can actually make that play because Ellinger's a big dude. That's no light work. There's a lot of guys that couldn't stand up.
No, you're right. I mean, Ronnie Perkins
And-
stoned him one time, and I was like, holy hell, I can't believe somebody stopped Ellinger in his tracks. Like, you just never see that.
I mean, that guy lives falling forward. I mean, he's OU fans can hate him all they want. That dude's tough, man. He took a beating on Saturday, and that kid just kept getting up.
I can't remember the last time that I legitimately walked out of a stadium and could say that defensively OU had whooped that ass. And Carey, we walked out of the Cotton Bowl basically saying that on Saturday. That was I'd say that was a top 3 OU defensive performance maybe since I've been covering OU. And we're going on now 10 years. Legitimately. Like, that was at times, dominating performance.
After the Rose Bowl, I was just too busy scanning for, undesirables as we were leaving the Cotton Bowl. I think there were some gangs
With
in
the
there.
exception.
Well, we survived a shooting that
fair
night.
part.
Oh, you're talking about on Saturday?
Yeah, when we were leaving the game.
If we would have stayed around for about an hour, we probably would have survived another shooting.
I think you're probably right.
Odds are.
We haven't left
Either that or we could have bought some meth.
Yeah, we haven't left Fair Park that late before, I don't remember.
It was very dark.
Yeah.
It was very dark.
And I just remember there were women like strolling around, with babies and strollers, and I was like, "Are you sure you should be here?"
It's like one of those babies from the Chappelle stand-up.
Trying to sell crack.
I'm sorry, Josh. We interrupt you. Eddie and I interrupt you once again.
No, that was fine. I think I was interrupting you. Anyways, it doesn't matter. With the exception of CeeDee Lamb and the offensive line, would you guys say that Oklahoma won in large part in spite of their offense?
I mean,
in spite of
yes and no.
In spite of their red zone failures.
In spite
I
of
mean,
their
everybody.
play calling.
We kind of talked about this a little bit on the podcast, on the post-game podcast, Josh. Just the fact that I think that everybody is so conditioned to OU being so damn good offensively that they still put up 511 yards. They still scored 34 points. And we're basically looking for ways to, Jalen played didn't play awful, but almost being overly critical just because we can for the first time in a long time, if that makes sense.
It just looks bad when he's the one that was screwing up, and he's the one that was like, "Oh, I played in the Iron Bowl. I think I can handle this." Like, no, you really can't, because you're not handling it well right now, Jalen.
I mean, you got to think like heading into the fourth quarter. I think Kennedy Brooks had maybe 4 or 5 carries.
Yeah,
and
I mean that's like you said, play calling.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
was.
The Trey Sermon thing
baffling.
is weird. I think it was a coincidence, though.
It was, because there was one time when Trey Sermon ran like 25 yards down the field on a route. I don't know if it was a wheel or how he got out, but Jalen Hurts threw up a ball to grab. He jumped up, tried to catch it. Like he looked just fine. It's like you watch that play and you realize, okay, Lincoln's not screwing with us. Like he really was just a victim in that of
it was just
circumstances.
Kind of what I think. Eddie, I don't know if you said it after, it almost felt like Lincoln was trying really hard to get Jalen Hurts involved and sort of win him the Heisman against Texas, because it felt like he was getting a lot more designed runs instead of giving it to Stevenson, giving it to Sermon, giving it to Brooks.
A lot of those were just there, though. Like how many times early in the game did he drop back to pass on second or third down, and all of a sudden there's 15 yards in the middle with nobody there.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I think it's
to me, Hurts still has that issue of not sticking with his reads and taking off too soon.
Yeah, but then when he holds it, we saw the interception, we saw the near pick in the end zone.
That was a total
quarter.
panic thing, though.
But that's him trying to extend the play,
sure,
which he isn't used to doing.
Yeah.
And you're seeing sometimes what can happen when he goes that direction.
It's just kind of weird. It's like, yes, there were times that play calling and I guess the execution is probably less than to be desired, but if you look at the fourth quarter, that was about as perfect as you could play. I mean, they scored both possessions. They basically ran the ball straight down Texas' throat on that last drive, and it helps when you get 42 and 29 on 2 plays, but at the same time, it's like when they needed to finish, and that's something that they've talked about, since Jalen Hurts has basically arrived, that's exactly what they did. And, I think in a way, and Beatembo would never say this, but I think he was kind of surprised by how well they played in the fourth quarter.
Here's I think, maybe a little bit of a concern coming out of this game, just for the long haul. Like, we're talking about Baylor. We talked about Iowa State. Well, I don't know if we talked about Iowa State, but we have over the last few weeks. Like, they're good teams. And it wouldn't surprise me if either one of them found their way to Arlington for the Big 12 championship. But with Roschon Johnson running like he did, I think Texas might have found some answers, even in a loss, that's going to make them better offensively moving forward.
I've been saying it kind of all week, and Josh, Bob, I'd love to know what you guys think, but I think everybody kind of walked out of the Cotton Bowl thinking OU's really good, which I think that they are. Texas, they kind of suck, when in reality, I think, obviously OU did something that made Texas play the way that they did. Mm-hmm. Texas also probably played one of their worst games. And I know people are going to try and spin this and say that I'm not giving Oklahoma any credit. I'm complete. That's entirely,
a lot more, Eddie.
Entirely wrong. I think that they're going to get healthy. Stearns, I would imagine, helps them defensively.
Comes back at some point, yeah.
The Green kid, I would imagine when they can get him back, it's going to help.
Their tackling is just,
it's just atrocious, but
unbelievable.
I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't think Texas is as bad as they played on Saturday, and I don't know. Even though it was a 7-point game, it just never really felt like that.
I was surprised at the number of drops by Eagles and Johnson. There were plays to be made,
sure,
especially in the second half, that really could have changed things. And those guys simply did not do it. Now, I don't know enough about them to realize, they're good receivers, but they have a case of the dropsies from time to time.
I've just never seen anything.
It's just crazy for him.
I've never seen anything from Colin Johnson that says he has all the tools that you want. He's massive in person. Like you see, he's just a massive human being. I've never seen anything from him to suggest that he's an elite receiver, other than his measurables.
I don't disagree. We've talked about it on an earlier pod that his stats from the Big 12 championship game, I had to be reminded, he had a really good day that day. I'd totally forgotten about it. He's just one of those guys I feel like everybody always says, well, he's going to be great. He's going to be great. Well, he's a senior now. Shouldn't that just be happening? We shouldn't still be waiting for that moment to come. And he's a good player, but I think he's just one of those guys that gets talked about in that same category with the CeeDee Lambs and Tylan Wallaces and those guys, and he's got no business in that conversation. He's just not on that level. And
God, who was the receiver from Texas like after Roy Williams? Sweeney or Sweeney?
Lima Swede.
Lima Swede, yeah.
Swede.
Like that's who he's like. Lima Swede, like
Limas was better, but I know
Limas was better, but he wasn't the guy that they made him out to be.
Sure, and that's part of it. I mean, and it's not just for Texas; it's any major program. Whenever there's a guy that could be a guy, everybody builds him up to be that instead of, well, let's wait and see if he gets there. And that's true of Oklahoma too. I mean, I think, like we've talked about how great CeeDee Lamb is. Look at CeeDee Lamb this year and compare him to last year. That's a different guy.
Yeah.
Like he's clearly much better this year, and we were giving him a lot of praise last year. So I mean, it happens everywhere.
But he still had over 1,000 yards receiving as a freshman.
Oh, sure. No. I mean, he's a great player. Don't get me wrong, but you can see where he could go. I mean, even as good as he's been, he's gotten better every single year.
To Eddie's point, see what I asked Monday is, if they played again, who's got more room for improvement? And I actually think Texas has the chance to be a lot better Saturday than what OU was. Don't know if it would still matter, but I think if they played again, Texas would be the team that would look a lot better than what they did.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, let me remind you guys, SeatGeek, great sponsor of the podcast. I know a lot of people have been using the SeatGeek app recently, and we really appreciate that. All you have to do is go download the app in the App Store. If you're looking for tickets to any event, whether it's sports, concerts, whatever, they've got it all for you at SeatGeek. If you get the app, and it'll even link up with some of the things that you've got on your phone, like Spotify, to alert you of local concerts. I think Post Malone's coming, like on November 4th. I would think even Eddie would be caught at a Post Malone concert. You're not a big concert goer, but I got to think you'd go to Post Malone, wouldn't you?
Yeah, if somebody wants to take me using the SeatGeek app.
If they put in the promo code Scoop, they'll get $10 off too.
I think that'd be
so you're just
commendable.
You don't care enough about Post Malone to go?
I could probably name you one Post Malone song.
Really? I thought you were a Post Malone guy. Okay, never mind. Anyway,
I'm more of a big tattoo on the face guy.
Well, he has plenty. Anyway, SeatGeek.
Hey, enough, he might get a Sooner Scoop one.
SeatGeek, they pull together millions of tickets from all over the web. They rate each one on a deal scale of 1 to 10. Like I was watching kind of as things went along, and you could see those tickets drying up on SeatGeek to OU Texas. And they started out about $300. They went all the way up to $400 or $500. I would feel free to let us know on the message boards kind of what your ticket buying experience was like. But they just do a great job. As I said, I've used them, and they're on my phone for concerts, for sporting events, for other people a lot of times. Eddie has used them. Josh uses them for Astros games. Just go download the app, and if you put in the promo code SCOOP, you'll get $10 off your first SeatGeek purchase. I know a lot of people have been hitting me up on social media saying, what's the code? What's the code? The code is SCOOP, and you get $10 off. So thanks to SeatGeek for sponsoring the podcast, as always. All right, guys, we've talked a lot about Texas, probably because we don't want to talk about West Virginia. But
I don't know if it's because I don't know if we don't want to talk about West Virginia, but
without Austin Kendall,
what do you want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean,
it's just such a different feel for this game because there is no Dana Holgerson on the other sidelines, isn't it?
Yeah.
It feels weird. I like Neil Brown. I think they'll be a good program when it's all said and done. I think it could also be said though that Dana Holgerson knew what was coming back and he got the hell out of there.
Wasn't Allison the kid that filled in for Will Greer when he refused to play their bowl game last year?
I honestly couldn't tell you.
Like super skinny dude. And it just wasn't that good.
Right. Let me look.
Jack Allison just sounds like a name that, I don't know if you're going to be a good quarterback, kid.
I wonder if they'll be as chippy as they were with
That's
Dana.
what, and I doubt it. No,
right?
I mean, I think that was
Neil
like a
Brown
Dana
has
thing.
been coaching that up.
Well, and I think, was it Daniel Gibson? Was that what their defensive coordinator? Gibbs? No, that was Dex.
Davey Gibbs?
No, West Virginia's defensive coordinator when Dana was there. Was it Gibson?
No, it's Gibbs.
Oh, was it Gibbs? Okay. I think he might have been the guy that.
Oh no, Tony Gibson.
Tony Gibson, yeah.
No, Tony Gibson.
Yeah.
I was thinking Gibbs is down at Tech.
Yeah, that's what I think Gibson might have been the guy that was, all the but man, I will miss.
Are you alleging that he is the new Greg Williams? That
Yes,
he's
I
putting
am.
bounties on OU players?
I love the year when Bob Stoops had to get out there and start separating them at half. Like that was so much worse than the Cotton Bowl. Like there was so much more pushing and shoving.
More.
Mike Defee would have called the game if he would have done the OU West Virginia.
And that was
game.
when it was snowing that game, right?
That was an awesome game.
That was
So
an awesome-
disappointed in all of you.
And Eddie had great Scoop HD video of the back and forth, and you could hear Stoops going, "Get back, get back."
What do they? Where do they play the basketball games at? Up in Morgantown. I forget what the arena's called, but
It's a weird looking.
Mike
place.
Defee would have. Let's get all the teams over there in 15 minutes. We need to have a presentation on sportsmanship.
And this great game of ours that we've all embarrassed.
Shut up, loser.
But it's another chance for Jalen Hurts to kind of and I think the thing about coming out of the Texas game, even though we know it wasn't like Heisman caliber, I don't think a lot of other people around the country really took the time out to realize, okay, well, the guy ran for accounted for 366 yards. So he had against Texas, that was a big time day. But I think Burrow's getting a lot of.
You got upstaged by Burrow.
Burrow's getting a lot of bump right
Later
now.
in the night.
Tua's playing well. I just wonder. I mean, like watching the college game day stuff. Like, it's almost like Oklahoma didn't get as much. Like LSU gets this big jump out of beating Texas. That's because they went on there and now it's like, you beat Texas. It's like, well.
You listen to some outlets and
it's your boy JoJo mainly that I got pissed off at yesterday.
Oh, that's living with JoJo. That's hashtag JoJo for a reason. You listen to some people, some national guys out there, and it's like, the question wasn't, wow, what a performance by Oklahoma. It was, what happened to this Texas team that played against LSU? Like, maybe OU had a reason for that.
Yeah, like have you seen what other people are doing to LSU's defense? It's not just Texas that's putting up 38 on them or 35 or whatever it was.
It's almost like OU lost
they made
credibility.
Florida look highly functional.
Yes, exactly.
It's incredible to me.
That's why that last touch, I go back to that. Like the headlines change from OU dominate to like holds on or outlast or like what?
Perfect example
Did
of
you
this.
watch that game?
Perfect example, Bob. Florida has first and goal against LSU. They're down 14 with like 2.5 minutes left. LSU stands. They don't get in. So
it's a domination.
A dominating 2-touchdown performance when in reality, all Florida had to do was pick up 2 yards.
Yeah.
And it's a 7-point game. Now, LSU still wins the game. They're not going to get the onside and all that kind of stuff. But it's just funny how that changes a narrative almost.
I mean, we were talking about earlier about where does the letdown come between Oklahoma and Wisconsin, and we didn't even mention LSU. But like, if Burrow has a bad day and that offense sputters, I mean, to me, they seem ripe for the upset. And I'm not even talking like an upset against like Alabama. Like they could fall. I mean, with their defense the way it is, they could fall to almost anybody.
They're at Mississippi State on Saturday.
They lost
I
to
don't think
Kansas
that's
State,
it. I don't think that's one.
Mississippi
State's terrible.
Mississippi State is not a good football team. Who do they got beat by?
K-State beat them at home.
Well, no, who they get beat by last weekend? It was embarrassing.
Everybody.
I think they're 3-3 now. The Dogs.
I mean, it's Mississippi State. People need
But
Mississippi
Eddie, they're in
State.
the SEC.
Exactly.
They play good football.
Mississippi State's
But
a
you know what?
perfect.
South Carolina beat Georgia, so.
Oh, they beat. Excuse me. Sorry, Dog fans. They got beat by Tennessee on Saturday.
that's
Wait,
bad.
what?
20-10.
Did they really?
Yes.
That's
like
bad.
Got doubled up by Tennessee.
Tennessee should close its program. Jeremy Pruitt is basically he's holding that program hostage. He's Bill Snydering Tennessee.
Well, the Tide have the Vols on Saturday, so we'll see.
I was just happy that Philip Fulmer had the balls to come out and say, I'm not taking over as coach. Like, he was like, do you people realize how stupid you sound? I would be horrible if
Even
I were coaching
I don't
again."
want to touch this
Yes.
damn thing.
Well, he basically admitted
do
he
you guys
couldn't
all remember
succeed.
you ran me out of town?
Yeah, exactly.
Mississippi State's the perfect encapsulation of the SEC aura that
Yeah.
they get a free pass. That's a bad football team. That is a bad football team.
South Carolina's kind of been that way for a long time too, though.
Yeah, and they beat Georgia because their kicker sucks and Jake Fromm plays the worst game of his life, and all of a sudden it's there's your quality win or quality loss.
Well,
Guys,
yeah,
as I look around the Big 12, talking about like good coaches, is this one of the better eras you can remember of Big 12 head coaches? Like, look around
That's
the
pretty
conference.
good.
I mean, you guys mentioned Neil Brown at West Virginia, Matt Campbell at Iowa State. I think Kleeman at Kansas State's really good. Matt Wells has Texas Tech. Ever since the OU game, they're playing good football.
Well, and the Jets wanted Matt
Mike
Rule.
Gundy,
Yeah.
Gary Patterson. And, I think, and you guys know, I mean, when we can go back all the way in the pods, I've loved Matt Rule since that hire was made. So he's really good, and I think he's one of those guys that will get an NFL job. In fact, I'd bet he does it before Lincoln Riley ever does.
Yeah,
It's kind of interesting, and I don't think you're wrong, but I guess he signed that extension, that really doesn't mean a whole lot these days. Rule. Yeah.
Well, if it's the NFL, it doesn't mean anything.
That's true.
I will say this: I know there's all kinds of the talk is never going to stop as long as Dallas is sucking with Lincoln Riley, but I'll be interested to see because I'm going to tell you I don't think Alex Grinch is going to become that hot assistant just after 1 year at Oklahoma.
Agreed.
I agree.
Just because people are going to say, "Let's see you do it again," or
I mean, part of it you guys know this. He's just not a flashy person. I mean, like,
yeah.
He's like a professor. I mean,
I think that
he's an instructor.
He
He's
dressed in a
teacher.
sweater Saturday.
I love that look. He needs to work on his visor game, but Alex Grinch kind of strikes me as a guy that. Go ahead, Josh.
The way I was going to say it is, it wouldn't shock me if he got some job offers this year, but it's going to be like the Southern Miss, those kind of schools, where if he'd wait a couple of years, then maybe that big job comes open that he could maybe get into.
And I think that's why he is wired a little bit like Lincoln in that I don't think he's the type of guy that would just jump at that first job. He knows exactly what he wants in a way that he believes in the defense that they're running. Like, he's not going to just take the Troy job just to be a head coach.
You know who's killing Alex Grinch right now? Kirby Smart.
How's that?
How many people want to hire defensive coordinators right now?
No, I think there's something to that.
Is there what Josh? Who is the biggest and brightest defensive head coach out there now? That's relatively
you mean
new.
Like who is a current head coach?
Yeah, that came up as a defensive coordinator that's having a lot of success in recent years. Other than Campbell, I guess is the best example.
Is Campbell?
Was Campbell an offensive guy? I guess I just always considered him a defensive guy because they played defense at Iowa State.
Well, that defense coordinator up there is kind of the mastermind of that whole thing. Yeah.
He's awesome.
I can't think of anybody that is a defensive-minded, young and up-and-coming coach. Somebody that's not already established. What's his name? Out of Cal, I guess would technically fit
Justin
that mold.
Wilcox?
Yeah.
From Boise? Yeah.
He would technically, I think, fit that mold.
And he's doing a nice job out there.
He's doing a really nice job. I mean,
but
Cal football just got dropped on the unofficial 40. Might be the first time in history.
Maybe we should just talk about how terrible
That's
Chad
twice
Morris
in this
is while
pod,
we're at
actually.
it.
Yeah, Evan Weaver, too.
Yeah, we've
That's
had
right.
2 Cal references in the same.
This is a
unofficial
Cal
40
podcast.
pod.
This is a liberal Cal podcast.
By the way, I will say this, if you are anyone in this region, be it Mike Gundy, anyone at Tech or Baylor, and you let Arkansas beat you for a recruit right now, just quit.
Yeah.
Why would anybody go to
Guys,
Arkansas?
is Chad Morris in trouble?
He should be.
Still looking for that first Power 5 win. Almost had it over the week.
You think he's in trouble?
I mean, I understand that Bilma did not leave the cupboard, full with offensive players that he wants to use in his system. But God, I mean,
I know we've talked about this before, but
Maybe his job
Arkansas-
security is just because of SMU right now.
I'm sure Kersey could shed a little bit of light on this because he covered Arkansas, but that fan base, little bit A&M in that, or they're a little bit A&M-esque.
Speaking
in
of
that,
disappointing programs.
well, I mean, it's just right on cue for Jimbo Fisher to be 3-3 right now. They just, who would they go get? Like, I think that's probably their biggest thing.
Mike Leach is who they should have gotten from the
Well,
beginning.
that's who they should get, but Arkansas fans think they're too good for that.
Yeah, and that's why they're where they are.
Exactly.
They deserve to just be horrible forever because they thought they were too good for Mike Leach when they could have gotten him.
Can anybody explain that thought to me? Like, what is better than Mike Leach? How many coaches in the last 15 years have had more success than he is? 5, 6, maybe?
I don't want that gimmick offense.
And I mean, it's not like
What the hell?
It's not like there's some massive tradition of, I mean, I understand Frank Broyles was a fantastic coach, meant a lot to that university, but like, come on. I mean, you had Lou Holtz, you had Ken, who was their wishbone guy.
Arkansas?
Yeah, Ken.
Couldn't help you.
Ken Rice?
Is it Ken Rice?
No, Ken Hatfield.
Ken Hatfield.
Sounds like a douche.
He was good for Arkansas. I mean, they were actually they went to the Orange Bowl when he was coaching there.
Is that who beat Switzer?
No, that was Lou Holtz.
Okay.
And I mean, it's not like they're the cradle of coaches at Arkansas.
Houston
Well,
Nutt,
unless
man.
it came off the Frank Broyles tree. They've
Shout
had
out
nothing.
Houston Nutt.
I mean, they are if you consider that, Barry Switzer played there.
Maybe they should hire Switzer.
And
Switzer's last birthday on Twitter, he said, "I hope I see the next one." I mean, that's where he is in life right now.
This is like saying, "Goddamn, we don't talk about that kind of stuff." Okay.
Every time you say that, and every time we get in a fight about the GD word, I think of the movie Rudy, which I hate.
Yeah, where he says,
My
they
girlfriend
won't
says
let-
I
yeah,
can't
they-
say goddamn
Yeah, you can't say
anymore.
goddamn no
And then
more.
she hits him.
I usually tweet that video out when somebody says something about it.
guys, how many, if you ask the average fan of like Iron Man and Swingers, that kind of guy, how many of them do you think realize that's Jon Favreau?
Well, Favreau got fat for Iron Man. I mean, he was skinny
I know
in
that.
Swingers.
Well, you're right. But, like, he's so young there, and he looks so different.
He's so rich, too. I mean, he's made so much money
Vince Vaughn's in it too.
in Swingers.
And Rudy.
Oh, yeah, he's the
Oh, sure.
dickhead running back. Or is
I
he
thought Roland was going to go on to stardom.
Just a good story about a good Catholic family is what that is. Reminds me of my childhood.
Oh, God.
But we weren't Notre Dame fans.
Your mother, something tells me your mother does not concur with that at all.
Maybe not.
That is strange that your family, came from Chicago, the roots of it, and that your parents are
My mom's from Oklahoma City.
really big OU people. Okay, that makes sense then. And did your dad convert from a Notre Dame fan at some point?
No, I don't think so. We don't cheer for the Irish in this household.
I don't know if my dad would cheer for OU over the Irish.
Really?
That's a good question. I don't know.
It is weird because, like,
He still gives me Notre Dame updates. Like, I don't care.
I know, Dad. They're on NBC every Saturday.
It is weird because, like, I'll go see my parents and my dad will be wearing OU gear, and I'm like, Dad, I don't play for OU. Like, you never wore this when I was going to school there. Like,
You'd give me like minute by minute USC updates from Saturday night. I'm like, I'm not watching the game.
Guys, do you still get like random family members that will give you
yes,
like OU?
yeah, I know where you're
gear?
going. Yes, for
Makes me
Christmas.
cry. I'm like, I
You
won't
still
wear this.
get-
Don't give
It's
me
still
this.
in my closet.
Like, I can't wear this anywhere. Like, it's taboo.
I just said, don't ever buy me anything red. Like, I won't.
But my mom would then she would not buy clothes, but she would buy me like.
So you couldn't be a blood?
like, don't give me a red dress
Yeah,
shirt.
I'm the
can't-
same way. I
I
don't
can't
have
wear
any
that to
red.
a presser.
Yeah.
That's gonna look weird.
I have a few red
Bob-
shirts,
Bob's-
but that's
There's some members in the media that if you do, you could just sell it to them.
no, but
pay
like
good money.
so my mom would stop buying me clothing, but
Especially
then
if it's
she would
Jordan brand.
Then she would buy me stupid trinkets like a laser engraved wooden OU shitty football like that had like Big 12 champions or something on it. I'm like, I don't know. You think I'm going to – I have one thing in my office. I have an OU helmet, but it sits right next to a Sun Bowl helmet. So it's not like it's a pin holder. I hold my pins in it. That's the only thing I've allowed anyone to buy me.
I don't think that face
I have
mask
an aunt
is
that's giving me,
regulation.
like OU ties.
This is like 70s kicker face mask on this
Kind
thing.
of cool.
And then I have my Dallas Cowboys cup right next to Eddie.
Should put it upside down.
You lose to the Jets, you go upside down.
That ship is in distress.
Yeah, if we start,
I think they'll play on Saturday. I think they'll win on Sunday.
if we get into the studio situation, we might have like OU stuff, like pictures or something that we've taken or something, because we'll have to have something on the walls, but it's not like
just hey, we can just take some random high school of Josh recruit pictures. I mean, it'll be great.
Hey, the
bunch of jerseys
pictures you're
nobody
taking now,
recognizes.
I'll be happy.
What about
to
all those
hang
pictures
up.
of the cheerleaders you send us?
Nice.
Eddie, those are private, buddy. Those are on the private.
Oh, are we
server.
still recording?
Those not open. Yeah.
I think that's a reason a lot of websites, a lot of schools, a lot of ISDs won't even let websites cover.
Well, you remember that pervert out
Yeah,
in
there was an upstart
Arizona
guy.
or something, wasn't it?
Well, there was a guy down in Dallas, I think, wasn't there, Josh?
That just makes me uncomfortable.
No, Garland ISD, they still, like, I have to really, like, guys, I promise I'm okay. Like, it's almost like, you have to go through a whole check for some, especially in Dallas. You're kind of right, Carey. That's where it's more noticeable, where you have to kind of go through. Like South Lake Carroll, I have to send in a sheet of information, like what I'm going to do, like advise, like they can give me a background check, like this whole thing. Like you have to get it in by like Tuesday so they can go through and kind of vet you and then
make sure you're not a sex offender.
I think I'm okay with that.
Approve you or deny you.
Yeah.
No,
that's cool. I welcome that.
It's like one of those things that people get uptight about. And it's like, I don't know, if you have nothing to hide, why would you?
Yeah.
Why would it matter?
I tend to send links to stories that I've written when I'm talking to coordinators, like people that are doing the press passes. Like, here's, this is what I do.
All right. Go ahead, Josh.
Oh, no, I mean, like in Texas, like if you walk into a front office, they're going to scan your ID. Like they run it through a deal. They're going to check you. Like I mean, now a lot of times I just go straight to the field house or whatever. But if I'm going in and the coach is like in the main building, I have to go through.
Oh,
and they're going to scan it. They'll run they'll check me the whole thing. So I don't even think it's pretty serious.
I'm sure that taking the girls to school and stuff, I don't even think nowadays you can get inside of a school without going through some type of
like a check
background check or like even when we go cover like signings, that kind of stuff. You have to like make sure that you get there a little bit early, just to make sure that you can get into the school.
Yeah,
which is, I mean, it's kind of the world that we live in. You have to do that.
Yeah. Okay, so
Tiffany. Oh, go ahead.
I keep trying to move on.
Important. I'm going to go on a different story. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Yeah,
well, the only thing I was going to say is I know you've been tracking visitors. It is the fourth straight 11 a.m. game, which makes it very difficult for Oklahoma in recruiting because they can't get kids to fly in time for the game. A lot of kids will come in Saturday mornings if they have late night games in other parts of the country.
Yeah, you need to play Thursday.
Yeah. So, Josh, I know you're updating the board on Soonerscoop.com on our premium message boards to what's going on. But what are some of the highlights that to look for this weekend in recruiting?
Well, I don't think there's any question that you have to start with Reggie Grimes, the Rivals 100 defensive end from Tennessee. Mentioned in an article late last week that Oklahoma was starting to make a move with him and was going to visit the next few weeks. Well, that week's coming this week. Because I think, Bob and I have talked about this both on the pod and just kind of privately, that this was the week you could tell Oklahoma kind of had earmarked as like this might be our big weekend.
They like making homecoming big. They do.
Exactly. And 11 a.m. didn't help them, but they're going to do what they can do. I mean, guys they can get in, hey, great. And Grimes is that guy this weekend. He's I think the number 42 player in the country. I need to check it up, be sure, but it's somewhere right in that ballpark. So he is an elite guy, offers from all over the country. A lot of people, and including in our forecast, have him pegged to Alabama. I've talked to some people that tell me right now Alabama is not going to take him. They've got some other guys either a little higher on their board. Yeah, I mean it's got to be tough to be like, the number 42 player in the country. We're good here. But that's kind of where that is, and I think that may be why Oklahoma feels like, well, maybe the door can open here a little bit because, yeah, you're probably not going to go into the South and beat Alabama for a major defensive recruit. But the school I'm hearing with him right now is South Carolina. Well, that's a fight OU can win. Like that's not insurmountable. Now, maybe he wants to play in the SEC, and that's fine. You can't do anything about that. But against South Carolina, I'm willing to take my shot. Against Alabama, I might look somewhere else. So he's the guy that I think you kind of keep an eye on. As far as the other official visitors, they're all commitments. Nate Anderson, Jalen Conyers, Andrew Rame, Trayvon West. Those guys are the other expected. Now, there are a few other players that I think are still up in the air. Arian Smith, the really explosively fast receiver from Florida, he was initially set to come in this weekend. I'm wondering if the 11 a.m. kickoff has thrown that off. Another guy is Keyshawn Lawrence, the Tennessee commitment from Tennessee. He is also kind of rumored, but I'm checking on that, but so far nothing definitive. As far as the unofficial visitors, the two big ones, other than Brock Vandagriff making his return to Norman, would be Trey Zunn, the Rivals 250 2021 offensive tackle from Colorado. He came in the summer and now is coming back, coming with mom and dad. I think this is her first trip down from what he's told me. So there is a good chance for Oklahoma to kind of continue to put themselves at the forefront of his recruitment. He's a guy that really likes OU a lot. The other is Kobe McKenzie, the 2022 linebacker from Lubbock Cooper. McKenzie loves Oklahoma. I think if he was going to pick today, I think it would be Oklahoma. I don't think there's a lot of doubt about it. Now, he's 2022. There's a long way to go. A lot can happen. But you start looking at that class. Kobe McKenzie's a 5-star on 20.
He looks like it. Yep, he's borderline.
This is a big-time guy that, as a linebacker, loved what he saw from Kenneth Murray on Saturday. He and I talked a lot. He's very gung-ho about OU. You add him to Gentry Williams, well, man, that's maybe 2 5-stars in 2022. Oklahoma has a very real shot at on the defensive side of the ball. So, again, it's early. Don't want to get crazy, but that's, 2021 you'll see Oklahoma make a step forward. I think 2022 is where you might finally see, okay, Oklahoma starts reeling in some really, truly elite defensive guys if they can keep this momentum going.
And just a couple notes. Trey, is it Zun? I've been saying Zune. I'm not sure which one it is, but
I'm not either, Bob.
He was at the defensive line camp where him and Ethan Downs were the two people that got the offers from that afternoon. And Downs, who, of course, committed to OU last week, he will also be in attendance, be his first game as a commit. He said very excited to meet Vandagriff for the first time. And talking with Greg, Brock's father, they're coming in Friday through Sunday. So Prince Avenue Christian has a bye week, so it worked out perfect in that regard. And crazy enough, and I mean, Josh, you were there when it happened, but sounds they're going to try to get Brock back on the field. I don't personally understand the urgency of trying to get him out there as fast as they are, but
so he has had surgery or anything?
Greg showed me a picture of the brace that they have made for him, and he won't play the entire game starting next week, but they talk about playing him 1 to 2 quarters and trying to get him ready. That'd be pretty incredible to think of where he was when you were there to now that he could actually be ready to go back out there.
Josh is just not allowed to go back to cover his game.
Correct.
Because he'll probably break the
that has more to do with the restraining order than it does.
For me, it was Chris Robinson. I saw him play twice, and he got hurt in both of them.
Should have been a sign.
I know he got hurt in at least one of the times I saw him, Bob. So maybe there was a pattern there that had nothing to do with you or me. But yeah, it sounds like they're hoping Brock's going to be back before playoffs. I mean, they seem pretty optimistic about that. And I think a big part of that is, I think as far as playoffs go, that's not that crazy of a reach for Brock. I think that was always kind of the prognosis, was about 4 to 6 weeks was what that was going to look like. And I think they're being somewhat patient with it. But I think they know if they can just get him out there for a week or two before playoffs, let him get his feet back under him, get kind of back in the groove of things, well, then when they hit playoffs, I mean, guys, Prince Avenue Christian's a potential state finalist with Brock Vandagriff on their team. So I think they're trying to find a way to kind of get him ready to make that run. And I got to say, if you're that team in Georgia that's like, man, we had this great year. We get Prince Avenue Christian. They're down. Oh shit. Brock's back. That's got to be the biggest letdown ever. Like, you really thought you had a chance to move out of the second round. You're probably playing a team in Prince Avenue Christian you didn't think you were going to have to face because they were going to be, the first seed in their district. Instead, they're second or third or whatever, and now you got to deal with the best quarterback in the country. Like, that seems a little unfair to that poor team.
Just as far as, you might have already kind of answered this, but, with what Oklahoma has been able to do, putting things on tape defensively, that was asked of Lincoln and Alex Grinch. How much of that is that, I guess, the hot take reaction of being able to give it to kids and show them what they can do in this defense, as opposed to, I guess, how much can they really sell when you've only played 6 games, or how much will that be negatively recruited against? I guess I'm asking because you see guys like Kendrick Blackshire that, tweeted after the OU Texas game. Like, how much do you think that kids actually are going to buy into what they're doing in Norman right now? And it's obviously,
and even Josh Eaton's.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's a perfect example. Is like what
I still don't know what that means.
What they've done on the field hasn't been enough to be able to flip guys. Because I do think that when you watch, they're having fun. It's obvious that they're having fun. It looks like a defense that you would want to play in with as much as they're allowed to do. I guess has that sales pitch increased over the last 2 months?
Oh, I don't think there's any question. And now it's where the tables turn a little bit. Oklahoma, they put it on tape. Look what we did to Texas. Go compare. Okay, you, Dante Manning, you love LSU. Go look what LSU did with Texas's offense. Look what we did with Texas's offense. You can sell that, and you don't even have to make the pitch. It's not wait for us. Wait and see what we're going to do. Wait till what we're going to be. It is a bold comparison you can make with the defense that everybody in the country just assumes is an elite unit, which, we've already talked a little bit on the pod. It's not. And Oklahoma can say, we're moving in that direction. And now you've got these mock drafts that have Kenneth Murray and Neville Gallimore going in the first round. If that happens, I think you even speed up the conversation of, because that's what these kids want. You can talk to them about tradition and we're going to play good defense and we're going to be this and that. If you have a chance, if you are putting out NFL talent, guys respond to that. And that's going to make their life so much easier. And I think Kenneth Murray is probably very much trending in that direction. And Neville Gallimore, we'll have to see. But, he's one of those guys, if he's close with the way that we're told he'll test, he might push himself in that range too. So we'll see. But like I said, when I talk to guys, usually in years past, I would have to, Kenneth Murray had a good game here against UCLA in 2018. Or, I would almost have to lead them into the compliment of the defense.
Sure.
And now, I hit up Travion Ford, the outside linebacker from St. Louis, and I said, what do you think of did you get a chance to see OU? And he goes, are you kidding, man? 9 sacks? I saw that. They know it. They watched it. It was a big stage, and or a linebacker, man, Kenneth Murray looks like he's a freak, man. They're starting to talk about these guys like, I want to be that guy, instead of, I could replace that guy.
Well, that's kind of just from the team side of things. That's kind of what we talked about with some of the guys this past week, and we mentioned it on the postgame podcast, was just the fact that it feels like, you can go in there and say, oh, we believe in the defense. I think Ronnie Perkins talked about it yesterday, even as far as, last year you talked to guys and it's like, yeah, we believe in the defense. They're going to get a stop when they need to. You really believe that? I don't think anybody actually.
Well, they would say that until Curtis Bolton came in the room and was like, no, we can't get any stops.
Yeah, that's true. And it's like, all right,
these guys suck, and
it almost makes you feel like
I'm gonna kill myself.
Inside the team, inside the locker room right now. It's some of the defensive guys can look the offensive guys in the face these days. They can make eye contact with some people now.
They just can't look Alex Grinch in the face because they never get any turnovers.
That's something that needs to be worked on. I think
how hard is that to bitch though about turnovers when they're playing that well?
Well, when it's something that you basically have harped on for the last 7 months.
You have one in 3 conference games. That's gonna be an issue.
I would imagine the next 3 weeks present opportunities to turn the ball over. And West Virginia is a team that has given the ball away at a startling rate, I think you could say, over the first couple weeks of the season or the Big 12 conference season. So I would be surprised if they don't force. I'd put the over under 2.5 on Saturday, and I'd go over.
Yeah, I think that's
Is that fair?
It's fair. It's just it's hard. You can't do it against Kansas.
I'd be a little surprised if they didn't force 2 turnovers on Saturday, because I do think what Riley said on Monday was probably true. If you continue to be as disruptive as they are up front, turnovers are going to come at some point. Guys are just going to make mistakes under pressure.
I would agree. I think it's coming. It's just a matter of time. All right. Anything else on the table before you guys?
Yes. Let's hit basketball because they got a 5-star official visitor, Bryce Thompson from Booker T.
Oh, yeah.
Last visit, and then he'll look to make his choice here in the next month. Obviously, you have the November signing period coming up quickly, so it sounds like he wants to do it during that little time period there. I mean, you got North Carolina. He was at KU when we were at KU. He was there for Snoop's performance and everything like that. So I think you look at Carolina, Kansas, and the Sooners seem to be a consensus top 3. I know he's been to Texas. He's visited Michigan State, OSU, and Arkansas, but I think you're looking at Carolina, Jayhawks, Sooners. OU gets the last crack at it.
It would be amazing if Lon pulled this off.
Put a lot of work into this kid for a long time. I'm bordering just as long as they recruited Trey Young. They've been on with Bryce Thompson. You got his teammate, Trey Phipps, also making an official visit. He, of course, committed to OU a couple months ago. I'm not saying that's going to play a huge role, but at least they'll always have that, hey, Trey's going to be trying to get Bryce too. And this is it. This is all they want. No one in the post. They got all their bigs this last class. Unless they have some unexpected transfer, then they'll have to go down that road later. But this is what they want for 2020, just the Booker T kids, Trey Phipps and Bryce Thompson.
I'm not going to Dean Blevins you, but I'm not going to ask you for a percentage. But, I mean, it would seem that OU has just as good a chance as anybody in this. Would that be fair to...
I think the family ties are there.
Yeah, the family...
like Lon's lost, Crutchfield, he's lost some guys here and there, but... the hires he made actually are very close to Pooh is very close.
Yeah, when you bring in Pooh, this is part of the reason. It's not the only reason. Don't get it twisted. It's not one of those shady deals where he only hired Pooh.
A lot of people would have hired Pooh.
It's not like hiring the number 1 player in the country's brother on your assistant.
Just his teammate, No, but I mean, people wanted. I mean, he was a wanted man.
OSU.
Yeah, he wanted.
Cunningham, of course it is. Yeah. I mean, it's not one of those deals, but you think about what he brought to this recruiting area. The relationship definitely helped, and it's helped Kansas. I mean, with Bill Self coaching Rod Thompson, don't think that hasn't played a role. It's you use the connections when you have them, and that's why I feel like OU and Kansas are the real legitimate top 2 in my mind, because it makes more sense if it ends up being that way. But I think the Sooners have done everything right, and now they're ready to punch. I'll have the story out Friday sort of chronicling how this is all worked out and why I think this could be the weekend that seals the deal.
Look, I'm sure Rod and Bill are close, so I'm not trying to piss off anybody, but how strange a time we live in when Lon Kruger's best recruiting pitches were a pretty clean program. We don't have anybody looking over our shoulders right now.
And you never will.
It's the reality of the situation. I mean, Kansas it's going to be... I'm sure this could fill up an entire podcast, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I would be... like, if you had to ask me on October 16th, 2019, is Bill Self going to be the head coach at Kansas in 2 years? I would say there's almost no chance.
I would say, I'd be right there with you.
I mean, there's just too much that the NCAA and the Feds
I would say if he can makes it through this year,
and I think he's going to have to, because they're not going to. I don't think anything will drop during the season that would force Bill Self out. And maybe that's just me being a little naive. It's going to be interesting, though. Like I think that there's definitely going to be some things that fall for sure in Lawrence.
And when you think about Bryce Thompson, the improvement he's made in the last 2 years, I mean, he was a 4-star kid as he was a freshman and sophomore, but he's earned his way into being a 5-star guy. He's bulked up. His shot making has always been there, but now he can distribute the ball a lot better. I mean, he's become the total package to where it was. Oh, it would be nice if we got Bryce. Now it's like, holy cow, this, we need to get him.
It would seem, if you read the press clippings from the AAU circuit or Eric Bossy or whoever talks about him, I mean, this is one of those guys that I'm not going to say once in a generation type guy, but I mean, he's
a guy that can get you to the Final Four.
He's a guy you build your program around, no doubt about it. Oh yeah, Oklahoma, the state of Oklahoma just as a whole has really good.
Get him.
Absolutely. They have between him and the Trey Alexander kid at Heritage Hall.
Well, and that, what's funny about that 2021 is Jackson Robinson from Ada might actually be ranked higher than Trey, but we all knew about Trey first. Team Griffin's doing an incredible job of producing top tier talent.
Well, I know that the Griffin brothers put a lot of time and energy into that. Like, I know Blake is very active with it. Josh Gamlin,
way more than you thought he would be.
Former PC North Panther. He's one of the guys that kind of, I think he's the head coach of the actual top team or whatever. But I mean, they take a lot of pride in that. It's not just an AAU program that they're trying to profit off of.
And it would just give Oklahoma.
And I didn't want to say, guys.
Go ahead. We've been interrupting Josh for like 30 minutes.
No. You're fine. No. I just want. I mean, because obviously this is not my turf, so I don't want to. But for those that do want to read, Eric Bossy has a full Q&A with Bryce up on the Crimson Corner right now, so you can read it. He caught up with him this weekend, just kind of talking about all that's going on with him, going into his visit with Oklahoma and all that good stuff.
And the other thing it would do, Oklahoma talks about homegrown guys, Blake Griffin and Trae Young, like it would, and then having Buddy Hield in the NBA right now, like that would add so much to Lon Kruger's legacy to be able at Oklahoma to be able to say that he landed somebody like Bryce too.
And they've been playing off that in a huge way this week on social media, bringing up homegrown Sooners. They come here, they stay here, they play incredibly well, and they make it at the next level.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this edition of the MidFirst Bank Unofficial 40. Make sure you go check out midfirst.com/U40. Eddie had one more thing to jump in
sorry. We should have talked about this at the very beginning, but if you have an opinion about the Rough Rider uniforms that OU is going to wear this weekend against West Virginia, contact Carey Murdoch on Twitter.
It was
at Carey Murdoch.
Okay, it's so funny.
That's not my Twitter, so feel free to give that out.
Right. Kenneth Mann was tagged in it.
Carey at Carey WWLS.
Nope.
No.
Did you change it?
Yes, a long time ago. But Kenneth Mann was tagged in.
God. Sorry, Bob.
Kenneth Mann was tagged in the photo. So Kenneth Mann tweeted last night, "Man, you guys really hate these uniforms."
That's what Kenneth said?
Because he's getting
awful.
all the replies because he's tagged in the unveiling.
Oh, in the OU.
So he's getting, you guys really hate these, don't you?
I will say,
People just want to change.
I am not uniform czar guy.
Yeah.
But I hate the Rough Rider. I think they are the worst.
It's just been around too long.
If they want to wear a throwback, they got to wear was it 2003 North Texas?
2003. Right.
Those are the best. That's the best, cleanest OU uniform out there.
I mean, it's so unpopular. I liked the 2009 ones that they wore when they got their asses kicked at Texas Tech.
Oh, those weren't bad. They just played awful.
They played awful.
Or I think people would just wish there's different combinations. They talk about how they went all this effort to make this stuff like cool and unique, and so it's the same too. We know what they get at home. We know what you get on the road.
All right. Well, you're gonna get the Rough Riders again this weekend. Hopefully this will be hopefully Joe C hears loud and clear. It's the last year you want to see him. So
either that or they wear him every game and you turn Warren G into the band.
Well, this is year 2 of this current.
And they call them the Regulators instead of the Rough Riders.
There you go. All right.
Mount up.
Thanks everybody for listening. We'll be back after the West Virginia game for another Eskridge Lexus post-game podcast. Remember, midfirst.com/U40, U40. Go check it out. Sign up for the OU Rewards card. They do a great job supporting our podcast, so please go and support them. So thanks to Josh, to Eddie, to Bob. I'm Carey Murdoch. You're welcome. We will see you guys back here next week on another edition of the Unofficial 40.